American Beauty is a drama following the lives of Lester and his family living in American suburbia, as they struggle and break down over the pressures of that lifestyle and the expectations set upon them by others. Their attempts to find ways to satisfy their innermost desires within the society lead to major conflicts within the family. I will be doing a shot-by-shot analysis of the opening scene's mise-en-scene, editing, and cinematography to investigate how it establishes the filmic world, develops characters, and introduces the conflicts or key themes of the film. Mise-en-scene. Within the shot following the title screen, there is a suburban neighborhood. There are no vibrant colors, and a significant amount of these trees are barren of leaves. This lack of nature or any form of vibrancy creates a pervasive feeling of lifelessness. This mise-en-scene is an amalgamation of the way the film defines the American suburb, that it is lacking in life. In the following shots inside the house, the lighting is natural, but there are lots of shadows, indicating that although this filmic reality is meant to be much like the reality of our own, it is a rather depressive version. In this shot, Lester is half tucked into his double bed with an empty space next to him. Instantly, the lack of presence of another person signals to us that there is either an issue in his relationship or that it is non-existent. Instead, Lester is surrounded by this overbearing amount of white in all the objects in this mise-en-scene. White is a color often symbolic for things being sterile, as it is in this case. It surrounds Lester's character to show the oppressive and boring nature of his environment and the effect it's having on his mind, that he cannot escape it. This follows into the shower scene even more dramatically as Lester is consumed by this white steam as he masturbates, symbolic of how the oppressive way of life has led to his sexual repression, and there is even a physical barrier in the form of the glass shower door between him and the rest of the world or society, as his wife makes him feel as if his sexual desire is inappropriate, and now he only has an outlet while in complete solitude. Yet he still can't escape the oppressive whites of the American suburb way of life. The final mise-en-scene, which I have frozen on, builds upon Lester's wife Caroline's relationship with him. She holds in her hand a rose, she has just cut at the stem and looks at it almost confused. As previously mentioned, red to Lester is symbolic of desire, specifically sexual. This final mise-en-scene shows how his wife is both confused by his desires, by the way she stares at the rose, but also the destructive nature she has on Lester in regards to those desires, as she is the one who cut the rose in the first place, and also has cut off all sexual ties in their relationship. Similar to the rose, Lester will die due to his wife's treatment. Editing. The first shot of the movie is actually prior to this title screen. However, unlike this shot of the suburbs, it doesn't fade in from black. Fading in from black is a common trope in movies when opening, as if signifying you are now being introduced to the filmic world, so this almost seems like the film's true start, which it actually is chronologically within the filmic world, establishing that the prior shot was probably foreshadowing and hadn't yet happened as of this point in the filmic world's timeline. These few opening shots are particularly long. In conjunction with the narration of Lester discussing his life, we understand that it is a symbolic commentary on Lester's lifestyle, that he finds the daily routine of the American suburbs to be slow and monotonous and not at all spontaneous, hence creating a point of conflict that the film's narrative builds upon. The tempo of the editing changes at this point. This shot of him putting on his shoes and the shot of him in the shower are significantly shorter in length. As these shots are of daily tasks Lester must perform, the quicker editing style reflects the monotony of his morning routine and the lifestyle of the American suburb as a whole. It makes it seem more like a methodical process as one quickly follows the other. We then have the most key cut in the scene from Lester masturbating in the shower to the vibrant red rose, creating a juxtaposition between the two shots, of the sad depiction of a husband masturbating in the shower to a rose, often symbolic of love, but in this case of Lester symbolic of lust, that is eventually chopped by none other than his wife. This cut is so key symbolically to the film's opening as it foreshadows what we eventually learn, that Lester's wife neither satisfies his desires sexually or emotionally, hence the conflict with his sexual repression throughout the film. Cinematography. The first shot we see after the title screen is a long shot. It pans downwards and moves forward towards the suburb. Notice how at the start the frame contains the sky and the horizon, but by the end the contents within the frame is simply the suburb, thus showing the oppressive nature of the American suburb that surrounds our characters, as it's taking over the frame. The frame is also practically symmetrical, resembling a sense of order, to infer that the main issue with the oppressive nature of the American suburb is how it is so structured in nature. Next are two overhead shots. This one in the bedroom has an offset symmetry, showing how Lester doesn't fit within the societal norms of the American suburb, and just follows them at the beginning begrudgingly. These high-angle shots reflect how Lester feels the oppressive weight of his surrounding environment, and that it is on top of him, so to speak, simultaneously making the viewer literally and metaphorically look down on him as weak. This out-of-focus background shows a disconnect between Lester and his environment, an environment which was again symmetrical, meaning overly structured. Within this shot, the camera moves right while panning left, all the while keeping Lester centered in the frame. The camera is placed outside the shower as if we're observing, which is fitting because these elements resemble that of a nature documentary, capturing something within its natural habitat because this is Lester's reality. The significance of this rose shot being a close-up is that it signifies the importance of said object, and its colouring is a symbol within the film. Finally, Caroline being in focus in this final shot while the rose is not, symbolises the disconnect between the thought process of her husband and herself. Red roses within the film are symbolic of Lester's sexual desire. The fact his wife is in focus while the rose is not is indicative of the fact that their current sexual desires are not mutual. To conclude, the opening sequence of a film helps to place the audience within the filmic world through its use of features. They establish what was, even if it isn't presented within the film, and what to expect throughout the rest of the film. American Beauty, for instance, establishes that up until this opening scene, the world of American suburbia has been particularly monotonous and depressive, and Lester is feeling sexually oppressed and bored. Meanwhile, we know what to expect throughout the rest of the film, as this opening scene introduces conflicts such as Lester's distaste for this regular oppressive lifestyle of the American suburb, and his relationship with Carolyn, and how it's affecting his sexual repression. These themes go on to be explored throughout the narrative. Films use features within their opening sequences to place the viewer within the filmic world, what it's been like up until this point, and where it may go throughout the progression of the film.